This is Horror Sucks, the podcast where we watch terrible horror movies so you don't have to. My name is Ashley Atkins, and I'm very excited to be rejoined by my good friend, Carter Rhodes.
And I'm Carter Rhodes, and I'm absolutely furious to be speaking with Ashley. So, as we mentioned a couple weeks ago, I was in Iceland last episode, and what does Ashley decide to watch except Jason X? It's Friday the 13th, part 10, where Jason goes to space. I legitimately might be one of the biggest experts in the world on this, at least top 10.
Uh-huh.
And she decides to, admittedly, she brought Ian. Ian knows quite a bit of it, but that was unacceptable.
Okay, I did not pick the movie. Ian and Holly picked the movie. I also want to give a shout out, thank you to Ian and Holly for joining me last week and keeping me company while Carter was away. But they did choose it because we felt that it was a not so scary movie and lots of fun. And it was. Sorry you had to miss it.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
The best part
Anyway.
was it gets better though, because most of our podcasting equipment is at Carter's house. And so not only did we do that movie without him, we watched it and recorded it at his house without him. So
My dad got an email saying, like, a purchase has been made on your TV when they rented it.
I asked. Well,
You did, yeah.
I asked, you didn't respond, and then I rented it.
And then I said yes.
Yeah, it wasn't. Listen, if they got mad, I still am Venmoing.
Yeah, it was my fault.
And then afterwards, after I had already bought it, he had already said yes. He was like, oh, wait, I have a copy of it, which I actually didn't find, although I didn't really look for it. So, yes,
Yeah.
we really did you dirty, huh?
Yeah. So, just some housekeeping issues. There've been some audio issues the past couple episodes, and the explanation behind that is that 2 weeks ago, Ashley had a COVID scare, so we did it on Zoom. Last week, I was in Iceland, and I'm usually the one who handles the physical equipment, so there might have been some issues there. And then, most recently, this episode, I do have COVID, so
We are on Zoom again.
yes. The audio issues might continue into this episode, but we have no reason to believe that they will afterwards.
Unless, of course, we get COVID again. But at that point, we'll
Yeah.
be Zoom experts, so.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to apologize for our listeners for mixing up the movies for the last 2 weeks. What was the movie that we were supposed to do originally?
I think we said we were going to watch Event Horizon.
That's what it is.
A couple weeks ago.
We're saving that for an in-person episode. Carter's really excited about that movie, so we've decided to break the mold. I didn't want to do that one without him, hence why we did Jason X without him.
Boo!
Exactly. So, but this week, instead of doing Event Horizon, we are going to tell you why The Crush from 1993 sucks.
Uh-oh.
What?
I did The Babysitter.
Are you kidding me? Wait a minute.
I just said that. Oh boy, this is exciting. I just said that we should watch The Crush, like, in general.
I thought you meant as this week's episode. That's why I said...
No, that was a miscommunication. Okay, so this is exciting, actually. We could do a double feature.
Let's do a double
where
feature.
you tell me why The Crush sucks, and then I tell you why The Babysitter
Okay.
sucks.
Which Babysitter did you watch? Did you watch the...
2017.
Okay, so I've seen that one, so I can at least weigh in on it.
So this miscommunication started when Ashley told me, let's watch The Babysitter. And while I was looking at a 1995 version of The Babysitter, it recommended a movie called The Crush. And I thought, ooh, that seems interesting.
And so Carter texted me and said we should watch The Crush. And I was...
In general is what I meant, yeah.
No, because you mentioned it was a horror movie. And...
I mean, in general, like, we'll add it to the list of things to watch for this podcast.
Okay, well, so I didn't interpret that. I interpreted that he wanted to watch The Crush today. So I was like, it's a thriller. And I was like, according to the Scream episode, thrillers are not horrors. And he was
They're
like,
not.
oh, well...
They can be, but as a rule, they're not.
I'm kind of glad I watched The Crush, though, because I enjoyed it. But regardless... We're here at this mix-up, so you're getting 2 movies for the price of 1 this week.
This is pretty exciting.
Should we start? Do you want to start off with The Babysitter, or do you want to start off with The Crush?
let's start with the crush. But before we go any further, I would just like to say my advice for The Babysitter is to not listen to our section. I honestly think The Babysitter is a really good movie.
Well, okay.
And I recommend it.
Actually, let's get back to the mix-up. So I had recommended The Babysitter, and then when I was looking up, realized that it got pretty good reviews and remembered liking it. So I was like, oh, like maybe we should do Babysitter Killer Queen because that has less good reviews. And then you said The Crush, so I thought that we were going in a completely different direction.
I see.
So I guess you're getting two pretty decently good movies today instead of bad movies.
So The Babysitter was... Yeah, I just recommend that you guys watch it. It's on Netflix, and I did enjoy it. I don't think it sucks. So this is, what is it, my second recommendation on this podcast. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. All right, get some popcorn. It's a double feature.
Take us away, Ashley.
Oh, actually, before we get into it, let's talk about how we format our podcast normally.
Oh, good call. Oh, by the way, spoiler alerts for The Crush and The Babysitter.
Yeah, major spoiler alerts for you. I'm going to ruin this movie for you. I'm so upset.
It's okay. I'll live with it.
All right, so how we kind of do this is that we give the plot of a movie. We go over some fun facts. That'll be ad-libbed. Either one will be ad-libbed by one person today. And then... we will go...
Are you just going to make up facts? Is that what you're saying?
No, I already pulled up IMDb.
Okay.
And then we talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, and what we found kind of scary in The Good, the Bad, the Spooky. And then after that, we'll give a rating and talk about our impressions about the film. So you're getting two today, and I am going to start us off with The Crush, which is a 1992 film starring Alicia Silverstone. And
oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Huh. Was she the girl?
Yes.
That sounds so good.
It's really good. I genuinely enjoy. I watched this movie with my mom today, and like she liked it. All right, so we have Nick Elliott. He's a writer for a magazine, and we have Adrian, who is the daughter of his landlord. Adrian is 14, and Nick is 28. Yeah, he's older than us. And Adrian is infatuated with Nick. And at first, he kind of indulges her. You know, he says things like, man, if you were only 10 years older. But then her actions start to escalate. You know, she originally just kind of like pushes herself into a space where like she's helpful to him. She's flirty, but then she becomes obsessive. She tries to intervene in his relationships and just makes his life a living hell. You know, at one point she attacks his work girlfriend, who becomes a real girlfriend, with wasps. She attacks her own best friend because she tried to warn him about her. Her actions are extremely inappropriate. You know, she calls him and says things like, "Oh, I got my period. Don't you want to be with?" She's like, "Have you ever been with a virgin? I know you want to." Things like that. At one point, he realizes that this is wrong and stops contact with her, and she calls him 98 times. And eventually it escalates when he doesn't show up to her horse show, and she confronts him at his work gala. And she slaps him across the face, which causes him to, you know, pull her aside, say this is wrong. She tries to kiss him. He doesn't want anything to do with it. She goes home and accuses him of rape, and he obviously is innocent, but she took a condom that he had used to implant his semen inside of herself. And so this escalates. He's able to go to the apartment and pack up his stuff, and the friend shows up and is like, listen, she's done this before. Like, she killed our previous camp counselor because she had a crush on him. So Nick's concerned, but he's like, listen, there's no way to prove this. But then the friend goes into the house to look for her diary where she logs everything. And he goes into the house to find her. Adrian's there. They get into a fight. She throws him off the banister. Then he finds her again. She's tied up her friend. And then they get into a huge fight where eventually she loses and is taken to a mental hospital, where she then starts to have a crush on her new doctor, and the cycle repeats. The end.
The Good. Dun dun dun.
For The Good, I really liked the storyline of it. I thought it was a great movie. The acting was phenomenal. Alicia Silverstone is great. I also really loved her build to insanity. At first, you could tell she was really interested in him and like that there was something a little off about her. But then, she crosses the line perfectly. In that, she tries to manipulate him. She starts to unwind. It's very interesting and believable.
This whole time, just so you know, I am imagining the girl from Clueless. Like,
she's honestly, basically, she has a very similar attitude as the girl from Clueless, but with like a little bit of unhinged. A lot of unhinged.
And then I hope you understand that the other side of that means that I'm picturing the guy is Paul Rudd.
No, actually, I would say he looks more like a Nick Carraway, if you can imagine that. All right.
Okay.
That's the visual there.
Sure.
So,
all right.
I really liked their dynamic because at first, like, he kind of jokes and, like, yes, he also crosses the line, but then she takes that as an invitation. And then I don't know, I just really loved hating her. Because at first I was like, oh, she's annoying. But it was like, no, she's accurately annoying. Like, she's a little girl. Mm-hmm. This is how 14-year-olds...
Right.
Initially, this is how 14-year-olds can kind of act. And then they escalate. And typically they don't escalate as much as this. But, But I also really liked how clear her motivations were. And it was good. The bad. I didn't like how Nick indulged her at first. I mean, it was boys are stupid, but it didn't feel out of character, but it just was like, ugh, come on. And then I also really didn't like how she accused him of rape. I mean, that's a whole other issue that we don't want to get into right now, but I just didn't like it.
The spooky.
I think this is the most I've had for spooky, but it's a lot of hypothetical spooky. There were a lot of moments where I was watching the film and I was like, man, she's going to die. Or this person's going to die. This person's gonna wind up dead. And I was disappointed they didn't. A couple of moments with Amy, when Amy was in the orchard and Adrian sneaks up on her, I thought she was going to kill her right then and there. I'm glad she didn't, because then we also got to when she was with the wasps. I also thought she was going to die then. And then Cheyenne's accident, I thought she was just going to kill her. I didn't think she was going to let her live. And then also when Nick goes to the attic to find Cheyenne, I thought she was going to be dead up there too. So did you want to say something?
Well, part of the reason I suggested this movie is because it looked like Fatal Attraction, except even a step removed, where the guy doesn't do anything shitty to prompt it. Is he just, existed. And so that was what intrigued me.
Exactly.
My biggest issue with, I guess it wasn't Fatal Attraction, but there's a line in Sleepless in Seattle where Tom Hanks is talking to his son for some reason, and he's like, Fatal Attraction has scarred men for like forever. And I'm like, not really. I mean, he cheated on his wife. Like, it wasn't like just all of a sudden this woman is obsessed with him. He did in fact lead her to believe he was interested, and then turns out it was just sex. So I thought this movie would be kind of like that, except he doesn't do anything.
No, it's definitely
shitty.
like that. She just has a clear obsession, and it was good. It was very readable. I would say maybe like the only other bad thing to add to, it was a little slow at first, but really great movie. It easily could be a horror movie if they added in some of that stuff. Also, the shrine like right under where he's staying, that was spooky. At one point, he's looking for a picture of himself as a child and that he thinks she stole, and he finds a trapdoor in his apartment, and when he opens it up, he goes into like a little basement area that's under, it's still over the garage, but it's under his apartment, and he finds just a shrine that she's dedicated to him with, pictures of him, candles, posters saying that she loves him and all that stuff. And it was very, very spooky. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I have very little to complain about. I wish it was more of a horror movie. I honestly, they're doing a lot of horror remakes. I wish they would remake this movie as a horror movie. I wouldn't change much, like storyline.
A lot of the horror ages really well. Like,
Yeah.
stalking is still just as terrifying today as it was in the 90s. Even though today the concept of a slasher is almost a little silly in comparison because we're not as afraid of serial killers everywhere. Stalking is absolutely something that's just as terrifying.
Like I would pay to see this movie as a horror movie. I enjoyed it, and it's free on Peacock and Pluto, so you should watch it. I really liked it. But yeah. Rate it. Give it a 7 out of 10. Missed phone calls.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I do have an important fact that I need to add about The Crush. It's actually based on a real character.
Oh, no kidding.
The director. Sorry, I was looking at the trivia, and the movie was actually edited for TV, and the character's original name was Darian. And the screenwriter and director based the film on actual events that happened to him, and ended up being sued by the girl he wrote about. So they changed, who had the same name as his fictional character, so they changed the name. But I thought it was interesting that it was based off of a real person that he encountered. Yeah. So it's not only just a real encounter, it's his encounter. So that was pretty cool.
That is very cool. So now I'm going to tell you why The Babysitter 2017 sucks. It actually doesn't. It's pretty good. So let's see. The film follows this kid. I don't know how old he is. Probably like 10, 11. Named Cole. Cole has a babysitter named B. And she's like one of his best friends. So you can see watching the two of them, Cole and B, hang out, that they're really good friends. They have all kinds of inside jokes. They like watching movies, old cowboy movies, where one of them pretends to be like the bad guy and the other pretends to be the good guy, and they do all the voices. They like going for rides in B's Jeep with the doors and stuff down, so it's, it's all pretty. And so he kind of has a little bit of a crush on her. And his friend his age, I don't remember her name, tells him that she probably has her boyfriend over and they make out whenever he goes to sleep. So he's like, his parents go away for the weekend. She's staying there all weekend. He's like, okay, let's find out. And so he stays up late, and she does have friends over. She has, I don't remember all their names, but it's her, 4 friends, and then a 6th guy who's clearly the odd one out. The odd one out because all the other characters are goddamn gorgeous. Like, it's insane. They're all insanely attractive. And then the last guy, Samuel's like kind of nervous looking. He's clearly the odd one out. And so they're playing Spin the Bottle. And one of the B gets dared to kiss everyone. So she goes in the circle and kisses everyone. And then when she gets to Sam, she kisses him and then stabs his brain with knives. And on the screen, it just says, "What the fuck?" And so they fill cups with blood from his head for a sacrifice. And so, long story short, it becomes clear that they're planning on using the blood of Samuel and the blood of Cole as a sacrifice to grant all their wishes. So Cole manages to call the police, but then they find out, and the cops show up and get killed. And Cole, who's really a scaredy cat, has to try to escape, and as he does so, he inadvertently kills them one by one. And finally, he escapes. His biggest fear was driving. He escapes in a car, and he turns back around, and instead of driving away, rams it through his door and kills B, who is the last one standing. And
Nice.
yeah. So, not going to get into detail with the facts, but I will say it was directed by McG, and McG has directed some of my all-time favorite movies. Charlie's Angels, Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. That's it. Just those. Ashley, Ashley, my mom, and my mom's boyfriend have all watched that.
Yup.
Like 4 or 5 times. It's so funny.
That's great.
I didn't.
God, what a good movie.
It's so bad, but it's so good. Like they yeah. I just recommend Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. I don't think you need to watch the first Charlie's Angels to enjoy it.
You don't. All you need to know from the first one is that they replaced Bill Murray with his brother.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was so funny. They replaced Bill Murray.
Bill Murray's Bosley, and they replace him with, I forget the actor's name.
I can't remember his name, but it was a black actor.
Yes.
And later in the movie, they have a young Shia LaBeouf going to witness protection at that guy's house. And they'd referred earlier in the movie that he was Bosley's brother, which was assumed to be a joke. But they get to his house, and it's a black family, and they have a photo
of Bill Murray. But it's also like, it's Bill Murray how you would, like, against like a blue sky background with a halo.
It was like rest in peace. It was awesome.
It mirrored Randy from Scream 6, 5.
So, and then lastly, and this is just because it's topical, there's one scene in which a character is chasing Cole through the woods, and he's going, ha, 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 ha. And what that is it's a reference to Friday the 13th, which is kind of the spooky build-up noise. Interestingly, though, it's not ch and ha, it's actually k and ma. So it's ki, 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 ma, ma, ma. Yeah, very interesting.
There was something similar to that in a different movie.
Jason X?
Yes.
Yeah, the Friday the 13th movies. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. So, time to get into the good. The good. Dun, dun, dun. So, the good. Overall, the movie was really funny. A lot of horror movies, and I mean this specifically towards you, It Part 1. That was one of the worst of this. They were so bad about making jokes that would then decimate any tension that they built. They had the wrong timing for everything. But this movie, the jokes were pretty subtle, but they were funny. Like, there's a running joke where characters kept mixing up Protestant and prostitute, where one of them's like, yeah, your parents pay me to hang out with you because I'm your babysitter. It's like, yeah, it's like you're my Protestant. And then later in the movie, he's talking to his friend, and he goes, "Where's your dad?" And she goes, "Oh, he picked up a Protestant. He's really desperate."
That's funny.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this movie in so long.
It's so good. They stab him in the head, and B's like, when they stab Samuel in the head, B goes, "You're going to help us with a great purpose." And he goes, "I don't want to help with a great porpoise." And then go, "You said porpoise, you idiot." While he's laying there, the like, one of the guys is like making him make faces with the corpse. Oh my god, the chair scene was hilarious. There's a scene in which Cole is tied up, and he like sneaks a Swiss Army knife out of his pocket, and he's sawing away at the ropes. And this girl, and they're like questioning him, and he's sawing away, and she goes, "Hey, Cole, you know there's a mirror behind you, right? We can see you cutting it." And he looks, and it's very clear. And he starts sawing harder, and she's like, "Oh my god, that's the cutest thing I've ever seen." It's like he still thinks he's gonna get out. That's adorable. So just overall, that was a hilarious movie. It had a really, really good grasp on tension. Like, the scene where he's in the basement. Oh my god. This is like, he covers himself up with a blanket, and this girl is going, like smashing every pile of tarps trying to find him. And she finally reaches him, and she's waiting there. And it's just this long scene of him, like, shaking, and you don't know what it is. And slowly you see a shadow, and there's a spider. on his blanket, and she's like playing with it. It's so insane how like tense this funny movie can be. And part of that is the sound design. It did a really good job of music when there needed to be music, and subtle music too. Not like I don't know, like I can't think of a good example, but essentially it played with sound well enough where in some scenes you would hear just like a heartbeat. That was a good job. When characters would celebrate or like do an air guitar, there'd be like a 1-second audio clip of them doing it. It was pretty good. In general, the camera work was outstanding. They played really well with speed. They would do slow motion in some scenes, sped up in others, but it wasn't cheesy. The camera, it would switch to POV sometimes. There's one scene where he's talking to his friend and everyone is physically moving in slow motion around them, but they're moving in normal speed. It was a really good way of just subtly drawing attention to them in kind of a crowded cafeteria. It was really good. Let's see.
I don't remember this movie being this funny.
Yeah, it was good. The characters were really over the top stereotypical, but they were really funny because of it. Mm-hmm. Like they did have one black character, and it was originally a complaint of mine that he was very stereotypical, but then I realized like there's one like blonde character that's really attractive. There's the
cheerleader.
Yeah, there's the hot guy who always takes his shirt off. So they're all kind of like that, but it's good. I like it. Or two more things. The plot was very original, and at its core, most horrors like this, at its core, it wasn't a terribly original idea. It's a guy in a house trying to escape, but they subverted a lot of expectations. Like, it is a slasher movie, except instead of 5 survivors, 1 killer, it's 5 killers, 1 survivor. But, as another twist, the kid is the one who's actually killing them. So, in a sense, it is almost a slasher from the kid's point of view. It's very good. And then lastly, they used on-screen texting and typing. The best I've ever seen it in a movie.
Yeah.
It was outstanding. They did the Sherlock thing where the character looks down at their phone, they type, and the messages appear essentially as glorified subtitles. It was awesome. I just hate it when movies just show me the phone screen. I see that all the time in my day-to-day life. Like, show me something good. So, as for the bad, a lot of the jump scares of the movie, the camera was framed in a way that made it very clear there was going to be a jump scare. And I've talked about this in previous movies where, like, it'll be a character will be moving in a direction and they'll be on the side of the screen that they're moving. So you can see what's behind them. You can see what's to the left as they move to the right, and they're looking over their shoulder so they can't see. They turn around at the same time as the camera and boom, jump scare. There was a lot of that, as you saw it coming. Yeah. There were a lot of flashbacks, which was really stupid because it was a really well done movie. They established, like, the Chekhov's guns really early in the movie, and the fact that then they would show characters talking about them, it was just a lack of faith in what was pretty solid. The post-credits scene was absolutely atrocious. I didn't even mention it. So, it was B having been, like, crushed by the car. After the credits, a fireman goes in to put out the fire, and she's not under the car anymore. She jumps out from behind him. It was terrible. I hated it.
That's only to set up for the sequel.
Yeah, but it was dumb. Like, They nailed it. It was a great ending, and it was bad. Yep. Lastly, there's an explosion, and the special effects of that were just unforgivably bad. It's a pretty solid movie, all things considered, with effects, but that was unforgivable. The spooky! For the spooky, all I really have is the needle scene. A lot of movies will do this thing where they'll take an actor's arm and they'll like poke, obviously it's dull, but a needle into it So the skin kind of bends a little bit, and that makes it look like the needle's being inserted, and then they'll cut away or something. This movie was very explicit about the needle going in. She missed a vein the first time. It was graphic. It left a little bit of blood. I very much enjoyed it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So my Joseph D'Estacio memorial line highlight is they go into his bedroom and they're looking at all of his toys and stuff, and the guy goes, "Man, this kid's hobby must be getting bullied."
Wait, I forgot my Joseph memorial.
All right, hit me with it.
Oh my gosh. So there's a scene where Nick shows up to the parents' party and he interacts with the parents, and they spot someone else, and I was like, "Oh, look at her new nose. She got work done." And her husband, the father, goes, "Oh, I'm looking to see the boobs." And then they just walk away. Or
That's
no,
good.
actually, he says, "Oh, I'm looking for the breasts," and then walks away. It was, yeah.
So I mentioned, I kind of gave all my overall. I suppose my whole thing was an overall just because of how brief we had to make that. Not how brief we had to make it,
Yeah.
but overall the things I liked was it was a very clever adaptation of a slasher movie. The characters were really interesting despite being pretty simple. Camera work was very creative and it was very entertaining, and it was funny without being disruptive in the plot. So if I had to compare this movie to an actor, this movie would be Tom Hanks. He's fun, everyone loves him, he's hilarious, but then when he really needs to be good, he gets back-to-back Oscar performances, and he's really good. So he's, you know, you kind of think of him as the jokester until, oh yeah, that's right, he's phenomenal. And that's kind of what this movie was.
Fair. I don't know what I'd compare mine to, but yeah.
Compared to Fatal Attraction.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's like a better Fatal Attraction.
Yeah. Fatal Attraction if Glenn Close was 14.
Yes.
Which I think is just an accurate description of this movie. Shoot, I meant to mention beforehand, but thematically, our movies are actually pretty interesting because, for a double feature, because her movie was about a young girl having a crush on an older guy, and in a lot of ways, and then having it, you know, be destroyed. In a lot of ways, this movie was about a younger guy having a crush on an older babysitter and having that taken away from him as well.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure he had a crush on her as well. So they connect.
Yeah, that was actually kind of surprising how appropriate they are.
Good.
I'm glad I ended up with mine because I really enjoyed it. Oh, that's right. I need to give my rating for it.
Oh, yeah.
It is 8
Wow.
bottles spinning,
Okay.
I guess.
Very nice.
I couldn't come up with something clever because we didn't really have a coherent chain of thought throughout the episode.
Yeah, thanks to everyone for sticking through it with us today.
It's gonna get better.
Listen, we will be free of the COVID, and then we will be back in person and on the same page.
Oh yeah, and so great news. By the time you're hearing this, I will have recovered from COVID or died from it. So simply check in on our Instagram. If Ashley hasn't posted anything about Rest in Peace Carter, you can rest assured that I am feeling A-okay.
Don't worry. You'll know.
Yeah.
You'll know before this episode comes out, which I think would be very funny.
I was talking to Kate and I told her what I wanted when I wanted to die, I said what I want my funeral to be. I want it to be like a buffet catered by an unclear company and a coffin, closed casket that's like way too heavy. And I want people at some point to wonder if the coffin is full of rocks and if I'm in fact the mystery meat being served at my funeral.
Now, would you like it Rocky Horror style where we are all eating around your casket?
I don't remember that scene, but no, I want it to seem like a normal funeral except
Okay.
for the fact that you're eating me.
Potentially.
Yes, potentially. You probably won't be. Wink.
Interesting. I hope not. I don't think anyone would condone to us eating you after you die. We'd also have to move very quickly, so I don't think that would logistically work. But
I also have a couple of I have several people who have orders for what to do with my body after I die.
Good Lord. Are they all different?
Yes.
Because I really want to see the battle of who's doing what.
One of my favorite is the one I just said, but the second best one is I want a giant, like, chum machine. I want my body to be dumped in, and everyone's standing beneath it, and they just get showered with my blood, and they have to dance like it's the vampire nightclub from Blade.
Interesting.
And then moments beforehand, they have to watch a clip just so they'll get it if they've never seen Blade.
Still interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think that covers it for this week.
I think we're ready to go. So next week, hopefully, we are in person and can watch Event Horizon.
Yes.
As we've been saying the last 2 weeks. Do we have a backup movie if we are not in person?
No, we'll just figure it out.
Okay. Also, want to give a special birthday shout out to Kate. I know this is coming out way after her birthday, but happy birthday, Kate. And my mom, whose birthday is today. Kate's birthday was yesterday.
Happy birthday, Ashley's mom.
Aw, gee, thanks. She doesn't listen, so she's not going to hear it, but...
I'm still sending good vibes her way.
That is appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Anything else?
No, I think
do we
we're
want
ready.
to state a backup movie?
No.
Or are we just going to...
No.
Screw with our listeners even further.
No one listens. No one like watches movies to prepare for it.
That's true. If you do watch the movie, thank you for your dedication, but it is not expected. All right. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for sticking through us with this episode. If you like what you heard, please, subscribe, comment, rate. You know what? Before we head out, I would love to give a rating shout out. We got a great review from BK Clayton, 3 Millennials Cut in Half. I too have a not so secret affair with terrible horror movies, so I loved the first episode. I find myself agreeing out loud so many times, shouting yes and thank you. Enjoyed this episode a lot, y'all. So thank you, BK Clayton. Appreciate your review. If you would like to be mentioned, please review. Got a few, but not many.
Please do message us on Instagram and tell us a horror movie that you'd like to hear us take apart.
Yes, and you can find us at Horror Sucks Podcast at Instagram. And hopefully coming soon, horrorsucks.com. We're still working on it.
Yep.
But fingers crossed. And I think that about covers it.
Yeah, this time I think it does cover it. All right. Remember, y'all, stay spooky.
Horror Sucks is brought to you by Wild Thing Media. Carter's holding up a cider of the name. Editing done by Carter Rhodes, and music and production done by me. Thank you all for listening.